As global temperatures continue to climb, a new report is raising the alarm for the health and productivity of workers. The World Health Organization and World Meteorological Organization, a joint report, found that occupational heat stress was becoming a global societal challenge, with manual workers in agriculture, construction and fisheries particularly affected. The report found that daytime temperatures of more than 40 degrees and even above 50 degrees are becoming increasingly common. The WHO says this is a clear indication that immediate action is needed.
The workers keeping our societies running are paying the highest price. These impacts are especially severe in vulnerable communities with limited access to cooling, healthcare, and protective labour policies. Protecting workers from extreme heat is not only a health priority. It is essential to building resilient, equal and sustainable societies in a warming world.
Let's take a look at the detail with DW climate reporter Louise Osborne. Welcome, Louise. What's new in this report?
So this is the first major report that really links global warming with the conditions that people are facing as workers. And as extreme heat is becoming a bigger and bigger issue, this is particularly important. Until now, we've seen extreme heat as being something as a matter of discomfort, something that we have to kind of overcome and deal with when we're working or when people are working. And it's much more than that. And that's what the authors of this report wanted to point out, that this can have severe health impacts for people, from kidney and cardiovascular problems, causing heat stroke, causing dehydration, and that employers need to take that in consideration when they're thinking about how their workers continue. For example, we saw a European heat wave earlier this year that was just over a week long and led to more than 2,000 deaths in 12 cities. So this is a big problem.
Right. Tell us more then about the impacts of heat on work.
So, more than 2.4 billion workers are affected by extreme heat, according to this report. Most of those are the workers that are working outside, so in construction, agriculture, fisheries. But, we see this at DW as well. I work with a reporter who is based in Delhi, for example, and she was working in plus 40-degree temperatures in May, and we had to discuss how she could do that safely and, how she could go about her work without being affected by the heat. It's also an issue of bottom line for employers. In terms of productivity, for example, every degree over 20 degrees leads to a 2 to 3% drop in productivity. So if you're looking at temperatures of 35 or 40 degrees, we're talking about a drop in half of the capacity of the workers that are out there.
So does this report talk about solutions?
Well, the report kind of mentions that strategies need to be set up between regional, national and workplaces to see how workers can better, deal with those kinds of conditions. But authors also mentioned, that employers need to make sure that employees are able to have breaks from the extreme heat, that they have access to water and can find places to cool down and find shade. But we see solutions also in city urban planning, for example. We know that planting trees, for example, brings down the ambient temperatures and makes things more comfortable for workers and everybody, really. And we've seen solutions in cities like Barcelona, for example, where they've set up climate shelters. So these are spaces that people can go into if they're feeling the heat too much and need to take a break from it.
OK, but because I've seen in some places in the world where they talk about outside workers actually stopping work when temperatures get too high.
This is something we are seeing in some places as well, where peak hours, so, at lunchtime, for example, when the heat is particularly bad, that they are banning workers from working outside. And it's these kinds of strategies that authors are looking for employers and, countries to implement so that they can protect the workers, because obviously this is really important, not just for the health of the workers themselves, but for the wider economies.
Thanks, Louise. Louise Osborne is DW's climate reporter. Thank you so much.